lymphatic system is kind of like the garbage truck of your body. It's the drainage system. So, if we think about it, we all know about our vascular, the blood supplies the nutrients and oxygen. It's feeding all those lovely cells. And the cells I relate a little bit like a goldfish in a bowl. It's quite happy when the water's clear and the food's coming in. But of course, the fish creates byproduct. So do our cells. And so over time, that fluid starts to become discoloured. And then after time, if you leave the fish there long enough without cleaning the water, it will die, similar to a cell. So the lymphatic system is responsible for removing that fluid and taking it away. Now, we do have so much that goes back via the venous return of the vascular system, but the overflow, which is ironically 85% of all your tissue fluid, is going back through the lymphatics. And it's a one-way system. So once it draws it out of the interstitial environment, it takes it back through at least one lymph node. See, a lymph node's a little bit like a transfer station, for example, at the rubbish centre, where it's actually defining what we keep, what we let go of, what can be repurposed, which goes back to the blood, or what we need to actually kill off, because that's the powerhouse of where our lymphocytes are. So it plays a really important part in your immunity. Those two are linked. But also in drainage. So we talk a lot about detox, everyone's detoxing. But if you don't drain effectively, you're recycling.
Right.
So the lymphatic system is so important. And of course, unfortunately, the two major factors to move lymph is movement and breath. So of course, a lot of us sitting at desks every day, we don't get a lot of movement, and therefore we don't get a lot of lymph movement. So the lymphatic system's a really important part of your circulatory system, but it's often one of the areas that we don't speak about as much as we should, or recognize the value to keeping it moving.
So let's talk about what FLOWpresso is. I'd like to first talk what happens at a FLOWpresso treatment, and then let's talk about the kind of applications for it after.
So we place you into what we call them the suit, because it's easier to explain. A lot of our children feel like they're going to the moon, like they call it the moon suit lovingly. So it became the suit pieces. And so we're placing you in, so you've got a foot piece that goes in around the foot and the ankle, then you've got a leg piece, and then you've got an abdominal, and then you've got arms. And then we also have this back piece that you're lying on, that actually just brings an awareness to that subscapular, or the tension that everyone has in their neck and shoulders. And we sort of wrap you into this. So we modify to your size, and then you're held in it. Now, a lot of people's first thing is, oh my God, I'll be claustrophobic. It would be, I won't cope with this. But ironically, because nothing's on your chest wall, we don't get many people that are, and there's always the option to take the arms away. So just for those people that are concerned about being claustrophobic in a suit. And then we apply the sequential compression. And so compression's been around for a while. A lot of people would probably know of it in hospitals and pneumatic pumps and things like that. But we're doing this as a body sequence to get things moving. So what happens is you get in wrapped up in this, and you're fully clothed, and you're wrapped up in this thing. So you're kind of held. It's like a big hug going on. And so it sequentially starts at your feet, depending on which mode we use, and it's just slowly moving up the body. So it's very rhythmical, very gentle, and we adjust it to you. So we use this analogy, for example, it must feel like a hug, not a blood pressure cuff squeeze. We don't want to squeeze you to bits. We actually want you to really enjoy this. And of course, as part of that compression, we add far infrared heat. And then we also have this technology, which probably the closest to explain to most people that may be listening is, there is this technology called pulsed electromagnetic frequencies, which we're starting to understand everything has a frequency. Our organs, the environment, negative ions, positive ions, all those sorts of things. And we've worked with an engineer from America who's developed us one, which we place at the base of the neck. The reason being is to try and reduce the discomfort that so many people carry. And as this area here, which is called your terminus, is the meeting point of lymph and blood, we want this whole area relaxed, because most people are in front of desks and they're really tense and all the rest. So we need to relax them down. And that's what that technology is designed. But we also do think that technology is helping someone calm their inner self.
Yeah.
So you're placed in it, the squeezing starts to happen. Now, compression is all about moving. Okay, it's about moving the body in the sense of whether it was developed originally for the lymphatic system. That's what this whole suit started out to be, but it's become so much more because we don't think we're actually moving a lot more than just lymphatics.
Yeah.
Far infrared, so much research around with far infrared. Raising core body temp is vital for the health and well-being of people. It reduces restriction.
Yeah.
So if you think of vascular, we have vasorestriction, which is the restriction of the vascular vessels moving. Then if we can get the vasodilation, which is the increase of movement and warmth in the body, you start to move more nutrients and oxygen. The same with the lymphatics. But it also takes the tension out of the body, and then we let go.
Yeah.
So from a autonomic nervous system, if you're living in that environment where you're so tense and so wound up, then nothing moves. So heat is also, and compression, which is a bit like deep pressure therapy, which has been around and they're used for autistic kids with weighted blankets. It's that really hug the body feeling and being held and safe allows the body to start moving fluids. And that's what we're trying to do on a physiological point of view. So many people don't sleep well. It's quite a massive issue in the world. Our lymphatics, which is only recently been found out in science that drains the brain, is only occurring if we have 6 to 8 hours sleep a night to the most effectiveness. So this is, when you think about it from it's clearer thinking, less fogginess. It even could be that associated to that long-term getting Alzheimer's, dementia. So all these happen when we're in parasympathetic. So if we put someone in, which we started to see, this was the big breakthrough for me, was actually seeing that putting someone in the suit switched this behavior of this normal that someone had created in their lives, because human physiology is amazing. The body's incredible. We tick along, we've got this perfect balance, then we get a bit of stress and we adjust back, and then a bit more stress. The next minute we've kind of adapted, and then a bit more stress, and then we adapt again, and then we adapt. And of course, what's happening is we're getting this overload of adrenaline and cortisol, which means that we can keep doing this behavior, but really for our health and well-being, it's not helping us. And so we've kind of nicknamed the suit the Control-Alt-Delete of the body.
Yeah, it's great.
I like the computer, the reset, because if we can reset you back to our balance, your body is going to go, hang on a minute, I actually need more sleep, or I need to take care of that, or hang on, this isn't okay. And this is what's happening when you're in this wrapped up, held. What surprises me is the experiences people have in the suit. As you know, in New Zealand, we talk about the wairua. So we talk about the personality of who we've come in to be. So that might be what we're here to learn, those kind of things, in the sense of to be the optimal of who we are. But we also have our spiritual side, the connection to the bigger picture of what our purpose is, and that's not always a job. And so I think sometimes for a lot of people, they're getting that moment to just get 40 minutes wrapped up and held, secure, safe. And then what happens is they become centered into who they are. And it's almost like I get to see myself again. I'm not trying to think what society's telling me to be, or it's not what I created. I just get this pause, a moment. So we get some incredible spiritual experiences. It's like they lose all track of time. It's like they tell you they're not asleep, but you hear them snoring away, but they often tell you they've got such clear thought. And when they come out, it's like someone's taken the glasses away and the world seems more beautiful and they feel calmer. I mean, a lot of men have said to me, I've got a sense of peace I haven't felt for years.
When wouldn't you use it?
So when we don't want to move fluid. So for example, congested heart failure, you don't want to increase blood flow, infection, even a spider bite, when you don't want to actually push that infection through the body, or even really acute inflammation. Those are probably the main three that we are always, obviously first trimester of a pregnancy, those sorts of things are, common sense that we don't usually get involved with anyway, but those three are the main ones. So we're very lucky we're not limited to a lot of things. Like, it helps just on so many levels, like you said, a reset, because it's so mechanical or intrinsic in one way, where you're feeling every part of your body. It's really bringing you back into your center. And I think we've we're so influenced at the moment by everything around us and the stresses in our environments that we're kind of, it's almost, I don't like to use the word leaving the body, but we like disconnecting because it's how we cope.
Yeah.
But we actually cope better when we connect.
Yeah.
And then it is a perfect adjunct to so many other therapies. Energetically, it's beautiful to work with someone, or count, from the coaching side.
Yeah.
Is, just to have someone reset.
Yeah.
And remember how beautiful and awesome they are. We're always trained that lymph is about letting go. So it's, we always ask the question, what are you holding on to? So, and of course, now we understand with fascia, so that's your connective tissue, which I relate more like the pith of an orange. And that's what holds us together. This is where they say now all our emotions sits, and even down at cellular level, we have a cellular memory.
Yeah.
So, of course, that's why we want lymph moving, because we want you to let go and to be able to not hold on any longer what doesn't serve you.
If anybody is listening to this and they think, right, I'm going to come and give this a try, can you just talk through what you recommend for people who are coming to this to expect in terms of kind of amount of treatments and frequency and those sorts of decisions?
So all our research has been based on 1 session a week for 3.
Yeah.
Because that was a good then measure of what happens. And usually within that time, after the first session, you've got this feeling of lightness. Some people go automatically into amazing sleep. Some, if their autonomic nervous system has been dysregulated for some time, or they've been a shift worker or whatever, then, their sleep patterns have been there for a long time. So, that can take 2 to 3. The first 24 hours, we often see dehydration and a headache, and that's the detoxing and the lack of hydration that actually exists in the community, which is quite more of a problem than we realise. And so, but a lot of people just have this sense of peace they haven't felt, or they start to have this beautiful awareness of, what can I do now?
Yeah.
What can I change?
Yeah.
I want to make a difference. And they start to own their own choices to that step forward. In other words, like, I'll never forget, they sent me one from Australia, the US. It was a thing, and this woman goes, I am going to go to the organic shop now, and I'm going to start buying organic food. And I went, wow, that's such a cool thing. But it's and then the second session is starting to create a shift in strength. So with lymphatics, it does take about 3 sessions to move and get things really acting correctly. In other words, processing correctly from a physical, letting go, all that stuff. So we've definitely found the 3 sessions are more beneficial. And then from there, it really depends on what they're dealing with. So the health condition they have, or what they're trying to work through, or if it's trauma, etc. Then the practitioner or technician tends to base it on that moving forward. And with your background and your knowledge, obviously you're bringing that in from a different level as well. And then you tend to identify what more support they actually need. The thing for me is, I've never thought this is a standalone therapy. When we started to see in our research, and we worked with the New Zealand Police to do a major research project, and watching it change their lives, sleeping better, feeling better, managing a really incredibly stressful environment, and then seeing that in that area, but then also seeing it in your day-to-day clinic and around the world, not just here in New Zealand. I was getting the feedback as people bought these around the world, that my future thing is that it is used as an adjunct. It's helping someone be the best they can possibly be, remembering what it even feels like, and empowering rather than disempowering someone to actually feel that, be that, and then given the surrounding support like amazing practitioners like yourself, where you're actually helping them grow from that as well. That we do need a reset. We need a Control-Alt-Delete at the moment. We need to remember what actually has value and doesn't. But more importantly, until you can't see that unless you actually reconnect to yourself.
Desiree, this has been a really lovely session. I think it's just really helpful for people because of it being such, a new innovation, and the wonderful benefits that it can provide. It's just fabulous having you here to explain it in your words as the creator of FLOWpresso. You can book your FLOWpresso therapy with me at the Centre for Nature Connection at georginalnature.com, and there you will also find a link to give you information on other FLOWpresso technicians and therapists around the world.